Hello everybody, welcome back. It is me, your old pal Orpheus, with another edition of the Madness and Mayhem podcast. Yeah, it's a chance for you to put on those headphones, sit back, relax, and listen to a little bit of the silly storyage from your old pal Orpheus right here. And that's what we're going to do today. You know, what I want to talk about today is something that I'm a big fan, a really big fan of watching BodyCam videos, right, from cops. And I'm also a big fan of the commentary that goes along with them, but especially one specific type of body cam video or of police camera video in general, and that is the sovereign citizen. Now, before we get started, I just want to say I hope you're doing well wherever you are today, whether it is day or night, or you just got pulled over by a cop and you're about to give him a piece of your mind. Yeah, that's right. Turn on your iPhone right now and start recording because it's about to get ugly. Anyway, so sovereign citizens. If you are not familiar with the concept of a sovereign citizen, let me fill you in real quick. So the sovereign citizen movement, I'm not even looking this up or going off of Wikipedia or whatever. This is just off the top of my head, so I might get some stuff wrong, but whatever. You know, leave the comment in the comments below about how I did something wrong. I'll probably ignore it. Anyway, so sovereign citizens are a movement of people across the country and sometimes around the world. Yeah, sometimes they are in Australia and New Zealand and stuff. Anyway, they're people that think that they are their own sovereign country within themselves, that while they live within the country that they are living in, they are their own authority. And they don't recognize any of the laws, authorities, or regulations of the government that they are under. So what does that mean? Well, it means that someone that's a sovereign citizen feels like they don't have to have a driving license, right? That they don't have to have registration or insurance on their car. Like they don't need a license plate on their car. They also feel that they have the right to things like free utilities. That's an interesting one. It's a little bit more fringe. I've seen videos where someone was getting their power shut off, and because they argue that they're a sovereign citizen, the authorities don't have the authority to turn off their electricity because they didn't pay the bill. Something ridiculous like that. Anyway, so the most of the videos that I love to watch are of people getting pulled over. And you gotta wonder, what are these people thinking in the first place, right? They know that they have something like a fake license plate on the back of their car, right? They know that it's one that they've downloaded off the internet, or they've paid somebody, some scammer, they've paid some scammer some money to give them a metal or tin license plate that says that they're a sovereign citizen and they don't have to have blah, 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 blah. Okay, these always go pretty much the same, okay? So here it is. I'm gonna block out how all of these videos go. Okay, so person gets pulled over. Immediately they'll start filming themselves and the police officer, and here's the basic dialogue. The cop will come up and say license, registration, and proof of insurance. The sovereign citizen will say, I do not recognize that and I don't have to identify myself to you at this time. And the cop will say, well, do you have a license? And they say, I do not have to identify or speak or incriminate myself during this encounter. What is your name and badge number, officer, right? And so they'll get, sometimes the cop will be like, Officer Johnson, badge number 3248 or whatever. And sometimes they'll play along. And then the person will go, I need your card. And the cop, whether or not he decides to play along, will give him his little business card, right? And then you'll see the sovereign citizen pull out a little packet of paper, and most of them will start reading some nonsense off about how the Black's Law definition of driving is a commercial contract with the state or government in order to provide goods and services to people under a paid contract, blah 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 declaration. Okay. And so they say from that one single definition of something from like 1929, when they're talking about horse and carriage, right? That you're driving the horse, you're like literally cracking a whip. It's like driving cattle, right? You're driving the horse forward. Okay. So they're using a obscure definition from a legal manual that is not, while the letter of the law may be pertaining here, the spirit of the law and the modern interpretation of that law are pretty clear in terms of what driving or operating a motor vehicle or traveling or using your own personal conveyance, biomechanical extension, whatever you want to call it. You are driving a vehicle on the roads that are paid for by taxpayers, which you, including, are hopefully one of the people, you sovereign citizen person, or you listening, I hope you're also a tax-paying citizen and you're not one of these sovereign citizen people, because, hey, if you're listening, sovereign citizen person, I'm glad you are. Thank you for the views. I will just tell you straight off the bat that I and many of other people in society think that you're an idiot. But anyway, so this person will pull out this piece of paper or this, a packet of paper and start reading all this nonsense. Sometimes they'll have their own identification card that's made up and says that they're like, King Mr. Bob Johnson of the, something sovereign citizen organization or whatever. Sometimes they'll call somebody. There are sovereign citizen gurus who think that they can, get on the phone like they're this person's daddy and talk to the cop and try to convince them somehow. All right, so there's one big issue with all of these people, all of the sovereign citizens saying that they don't have to follow because you don't need a license to drive on blah, 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 whatever. Okay. They question the authority of whatever state that they're in. So let's say that's the state of Alabama, and they get pulled over and they say, what's the crime? Who's the victim here? And they say, and the cop will go, well, I mean, you were speeding, or you didn't have your license plate on correctly, or your tabs have been expired for 3 years, or something like that. And they'll say, I don't recognize the authority of this state, and and therefore the rules that say that I have to have a driving license are no longer valid. Well, the big hole that gets punched in that little argument is the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. The Fourth Amendment of the Constitution basically is the law of federalism, which means that each individual state has the right to enact and have voted on their own laws, right? Which means that each state has their own way that they can say, okay, you have to have a license, you have to identify yourself, you have to have license, proof of registration and insurance, you have to have all these things in order to operate your vehicle. And they say, well, I'm not operating a vehicle. I'm traveling in my personal conveyance on the roadway or whatever. See, a lot of this with the sovereign citizen movement is about semantics. It's about pedantics, right? Pedantry is when you single out little tiny details and you completely base an entire foundation of argument on tiny little details, and it's so frustrating sometimes to hear these sovereign citizens try to argue about one little word in some sort of law or some sort of legal definition that says that they don't have to do whatever. Okay. So they'll start to, get into this I don't have to identify myself, and the police officer says, you do have to identify yourself because I pulled you over, and they say, what's the crime? And they say, let's say it's no license plate, and the guy says, well, who's the victim of this? So it goes around and around and around in a circle. And here's the thing, if you are asked by a police officer, given what's known as a lawful order, which is under just about any circumstance, if a police officer feels that you need to identify yourself in some situation, that is a lawful order for you to follow, right? And it seems pretty, understandable. If you're somewhere and you have nothing to hide, folks, if you have nothing to hide, the least that you can do is just give them your name and your, date of birth so they can look you up and see, okay, you are an actual person and not a wanted terrorist or something like that, right? And so if you do not identify yourself, the police have the right, it is a lawful order, in order for them to say, okay, well, you are now detained until such time as I can figure out and verify your correct identity. Well, the sovereign citizen has a big problem with this. And so what they'll do is they'll say, I do not have to identify myself. Well, they're sitting in a car at the side of the road, and a police officer is standing there dealing with this enormous pile of bullshit that's being piled up in front of them by this sovereign citizen. Now, most of the time, the citizen will say, "I would like to speak to your supervisor." So they go full Karen, like, "I want to speak to your supervisor." And so most of the time, the cop will go, "Fine, whatever, I'll get the supervisor." Because the sovereign citizen thinks that if they explain their nonsense to someone up higher than these lackeys, what they've I've heard them called road pirates before. The sovereign citizens call the police officers road pirates because they pull you over and take all your booty, I guess. Whatever. Look, if you've got like 3 pounds of crystal meth and like a bunch of illegal guns and stuff in your car, you are not a merchant. You're not a merchant marine. These are not pirates coming to steal you. They're going to steal your booty. No, that's not how it works. Okay. So the supervisor will get there and explain to this person, this complete idiot, that, mommy and daddy basically are not going to be there to help them. And they go, "Okay, well, you have to identify yourself." And the person will start talking about under threat, duress, or coercion. Now, this is the part that gets hilarious because about 30 to 40% of the time you'll see something glorious, which is the person's window getting smashed by the cop. They get dragged out of the car and they're just usually screaming like a little schoolgirl, just like, it's really funny to see. But what I don't understand is why, if you are a sovereign citizen and you are listening right now and you managed to get this far in, congratulations. Wow, you're really taking a lot of abuse. You're really taking a lot of abuse from me on this. But if you're a sovereign citizen, let me just ask you something. Why is it that you have this need to just butt heads with the establishment all the time, right? So if I want to go down to the store and get like a gallon of milk, right? I go down to the store, I drive down there, I get my gallon of milk, I get in my car, I drive back, and I know that there's very little chance of any cop screwing with me, right? Unless I do something like swerve out of my lane or don't stop at a stop sign or almost hit somebody or I'm speeding, right? Then I am under the expectation, yeah, okay, well, I just got pulled over. Damn it, right? Oh, man. Now I'm going to have to get a ticket or a warning or explain something to a police officer. But if it's a sovereign citizen, what is it like to drive down to the store, right? And know that on the way back, your entire day could completely change and you end up going for a gallon of milk and you end up in jail. What is that like? What is it like that everywhere you go, and especially some of these idiots, like they travel interstate, like from state to state, like they're on vacation, right? And they won't have their driver's license. They won't have a frigging license plate on the back of their car or registration or insurance. And you think that experience is going to go well for you? Oh man, I don't know. That seems like a concept that is completely obscene to me. Like, how do you do that? Anyway. Do you get entertainment out of something like that? Is that whole genre of the body cam footage and especially stupid drunk people? But on top of all of it, the sovereign citizens. Are you someone that enjoys those sovereign citizen videos? If you are, let me know in the comments below. Let me know like what you love about them. And if there's any of them specifically that you have seen that are amazing, let me know. Link it in the comments below and we'll see what I can come up with. Maybe at some point I'll start doing commentary on some of these SovCit like videos, because man, can I rip up some of these people. You should hear it when I'm watching them here at home. I'm just as bad or worse than a lot of these commentators. Anyway, that's my little blurb today about sovereign citizens. I hope that it's something that was entertaining for you. And is it something that you've seen? What do you think of it personally? Do you think that they're idiots too? I think that's probably the consensus. Anyway, we'll see you on the next episode of the Madness and Mayhem podcast. I have been your host, Orpheus, and I hope you have a great day. Treat yourself well, because you know what? You deserve it. We'll see you in the next one. Bye!